Hello, fourth grade. Back to the grind in the fourth grade science lab. And this week, we are going to be talking about identifying energy resources. Eventually, it'll be up to you to investigate the costs and the benefits of different types of energy sources. But this week, we'll just spend some time getting to know what those different sources of energy we use are. Where do we get energy? Where do we get the energy to heat our houses? Where do we get the energy to plug our laptops in and charge them? Where do we get the energy to cool all of our fridge and our refrigerator? Well, over time, humans discovered new ways to power our houses, our offices, our schools, even our transportation, like the cars we drive. So, historically, over the years, we've gotten our energy from different resources. Some examples of a resource are those fossil fuel things like coal, oil, or natural gas. Other resources, newer types of energy resources, are some of the other examples: sun, wind, water. Those are some examples of resources. So, resources are just basically materials that can be used for a purpose. Before we investigate the costs and the benefits of each type of energy, it's important to know how much of this resource is available to us. And it's also important to know whether we can get more of it easily. The answers to those two questions are going to be really important when we're thinking about the costs and the benefits of each kind of energy. So during your independent work this week, you'll find out more about each resource that we use for energy. And when you're done, you can test yourself by playing a matching game where you consider each resource and match it to the category where it belongs. Now, these categories are all based on whether a resource is renewable and whether a resource is abundant. So you really have to understand what both of those words mean. If something is renewable, it means it's replenished by nature. Like, you don't have to dig for it, drill for it. You don't have to, you just get more of it from nature. So you're probably thinking about the sun, right? You don't have to wait for fossil fuels to regenerate if you're using the sun as your resource for energy, right? You just have to wait for the next sunny day if you've run out of energy. If something is abundant, that just means there's plenty of it. It's available in really large amounts. Fourth grade, if you're ready to play, I'm ready to explain the rules. Basically, it's a matching game. So you're just going to look at the energy source and match it to its category below. Now, the categories go as such. The first category is abundant and renewable. That means that it may just be the easiest, cheapest, and best option, right? If something is abundant, that means there's a lot of it. And if it's renewable, that means nature automatically provides it, right? The second category is not abundant and renewable. And if we think about resources that are not abundant but renewable, that might be tricky because we don't have a lot of it, but it is easily sourced and nature will provide more of it. So There could be benefits to that kind of energy source as well. The third category is abundant and non renewable. So that means there's a lot of it around, right? But it's hard to make more of it. You don't naturally get more reoccurring on Earth. You have to do something to create it, or you have to wait a really long time for more to be made. The last category is not abundant and non renewable. And that feels like it might not be the best option if we're thinking about new energy sources and a new energy plan. So let's look at the example below. We have some wind turbines here that are off the coast. They were built in the ocean. And a wind turbine takes the energy of the wind and converts it so that it can heat up water and run a generator. It's kind of a long and complicated process, but all you have to do is think, well, if the energy is coming from the wind, right? If the source of this energy is the wind, is that abundant or is that not abundant? And then the second question for you, is it renewable? Is it something that nature provides without having to create anything more or wait a long time? Once you've decided whether or not your energy source is abundant and renewable, you're going to drag it over just like I did with my wind. You're going to drag it over to the column where it belongs. So I decided that knowing what I know about wind, I decided that wind is actually a pretty abundant resource in most places. Where I live, it's pretty abundant. I guess it kind of depends on where you live. And it's definitely renewable. Like it's something that nature provides without needing to wait a very long time or without having to find or seek out or discover new areas of the earth where we can drill for it. So I put it in the first column under abundant and renewable. It's going to be up to you to take all of these different kinds of resources, oil, water, coal, natural gas, solar power, and think about whether or not these other resources are abundant and renewable, not abundant, but renewable, abundant and non renewable, or not abundant and non renewable. Your teacher will give you a link so that you can drag each energy source to where it belongs. Scientists, I hope you have fun. And I can't wait to look a little bit more deeply and do a bit more research on each of these energy sources during our next lesson. I'll see you then.